Over time, we are coming to learn the low block is an issue for Leeds United. After all the pundits are saying it, all the YouTubers are saying it, including me quite a bit. But the data doesn't necessarily ring true. I saw a little bit of information the other day, and I took a little bit of a deeper dive, thought I'd have a little bit of a swim in the numbers and see what the problem actually is for Leeds United, and whether or not the low block is actually a problem, or if Don Goodman is just doing his thing and talking bollocks again. Now, before I get into it, if you're not yet, I'd hugely appreciate you subscribing, but I need to give a little bit of credit to Agreeable Notice 7810, who is a user on the Leeds United subreddit. This is because he brought up the initial bit of information that prompted me to jump a little bit more into the info and find out what the problem is and how it can be fixed. So whilst everyone is thinking that the low block is this big fundamental problem that is ruining our season, it looks a little bit different to that. You see, Leeds United against bottom half teams, we've scored 25 points in our 9 games. That's 2.78 points per game. And if I remember right, we've only drawn once. We've not lost a single game against bottom half sides. Meanwhile, against the top half, we have 13 points from 10. 3 wins, 4 draws, 3 losses. It's not a good place to be, 1.3 points per game, and it's arguably not enough to get promoted if that's what you're like against the top half sides rather than the bottom half sides. Now, keep in mind, we have played more games against the top half, but we're very nearly halfway through the season, and although we have a good run of fixtures coming up, we don't know what that's going to convert into. Now, looking at this on the face of it, teams in the top half are going to be more aggressive against us than teams in the bottom half. We've got examples of this, for example. So Plymouth, for example, just sat as deep as they could and we played against them. Derby did similar, just sitting deep and we'll play against them and we'll break through and we will score a goal. Meanwhile, against the top half, you've got teams like Borough who beat us. You've got teams like Blackburn, for example. Not a bad side in the slightest. Played very aggressive against us, scored a goal and then went, no, you know what? Now we'll play defensive. But I think that's just how football works. But it's beyond this as well. You also need to look into the home versus the away form. At home, we've got 25 points out of 10 games. We've drawn one, we've lost one. Yeah, dropping points against Burnley wasn't ideal, but there's a strong argument that we shouldn't have dropped those points. It happened from a slip, Manor Solomon studs not being quite long enough. And then the draw was against Portsmouth, which wasn't great. In fact, I've got a bit where I'm hopping into all of the drop points very soon, so I'll leave that for then. But then we do have the away form to consider, which is also dreadful. 13 points in 9. 1.44 points per game, which is stinky. I'll be completely honest with you. It is not good. But we also need to take into account the teams that we've played away from home. That Blackburn match was away, Borough away, Sunderland away, Norwich away, West Brom away. Those are all very, very good sides that feature in this top half statistic. And this is where I think it gets a little bit difficult to dive in. Because you've got a hell of a lot of good sides that we've played against away from home, which means that they're adding to a sort of double trouble case. We don't know what happens when we play West Brom when we're at home because we tend to break through when we're playing home games. When we're playing at home, we don't tend to have 0-0s. And although they might sit in that boring little low block and they might not try and score goals against us, that doesn't necessarily mean that we will struggle to score against them. So I had a look a little bit further into when we've dropped the points. So our losses this season so far were against Borough, which admittedly was a home game, but it was in the League Cup. There was a lot of sort of extenuating circumstances. We just learned that very day. Well, we learned after the match, the squad learned earlier, that Jorginho Rutter was leaving the club. That was devastating and will have really, really hurt the morale within the side. We lost to Blackburn, who played in a mid-block, scored a goal after pressing us really, really effectively, and it was a stupid penalty to give away. And then they were able to sit deeper because that's what happened. Millwall were a more physical side than a low block. They were, if anything, a little bit of a mid-block. And Burnley, yeah, sure, they did do a low block. But that's one game that is true low block football that has caused a loss for us. And then you have to dive in to the draws. West Brom. I've not even got a bracket on this one because they just came and refused to play football, as did we. There was a grand total of 1.4 XG created by both sides combined in that one. Crap game of football. Sunderland was a very open end-to-end game that we were unlucky to draw in, and it... Oh, that was a fun hiccup. And you've got the away from home thing to consider. And that happened because Illan Meslier made a stupid mistake. Against Portsmouth, again, a few Meslier mistakes and we dropped points. Norwich, I'll be honest, I don't really remember the Norwich match, but it was very, very end-to-end. Norwich aren't a side that will just sit and wait and let you play football in front of them. Norwich tried to actively engage us in that game. We only had 54% of possession. If you compare that to the low blocks we've played against, that's not much. And then Bristol City, who admittedly did play a low block, that was really, really boring. 0.1 XG on their point. Genuinely terrible match. So, with all that data behind us, with all the information in our heads, where exactly is the issue? And it seems like there's two sort of double problems going on at the same time. You've got matches against the top half sides that are causing a problem, and you've got matches against away sides. Well, you've got away games where we are the away side that are causing the problem. And there's a few little things where if you dive into the numbers a little bit further, you see that we've got problems. So whilst a lot of people will say that our conversion rate is not very good, I'm very sorry, Evie, I'm going to call you out on this one. That's not necessarily the case. Because looking at championship data, goals per shot, which is a pretty fair metric to look at because it shows how many goals you're scoring to how many shots you're taking, we score every 10 shots. We've got a conversion rate of 10%. That's not bad in the slightest. That is level third in the division, with a lot of sides, to be fair. It's sort of standard-ish. But people seem to be complaining that we're not vastly overperforming when the only team that's actually clear of the pack is Norwich City, who are on a 0.15. So I think the way that we deal with that is we shoot with our instincts more often. Yeah, we're getting into great positions a lot of the time, but the likes of Brendan Aronson isn't taking shots when he sees it come on. He's cutting inside going, what if someone blocks it? And then playing it off to Manor Solomon, who then recycles the ball again, which is, sure, great. Maybe you get a safer shot off in the long term, but we're not getting that volume of shots towards their net, and we're not testing their goalkeepers often enough, which is something that really I think we're missing out on. And if we keep doing that, and eventually we don't score a goal because we've looked for the perfect opportunity, other sides get a chance to control the pace because they sneak a little goal, like in the Blackburn match, and then they're able to just sit in and go, no, okay, come on, attackers, we'll wait. And then once they are in that deep defensive shape, as much as everyone might say, yeah, well, they've got into a low block, so they're harder to beat. Sure, but that's the case across all of football. Man City drew against Crystal Palace this weekend. Palace were playing in a low block. It's not special. Anyone that is playing hugely defensive stuff is harder to break down and harder to score against, but the teams that play exclusively low block stuff, we are beating. Fairly reasonably comfortably as well. But the issue that we get is when we let another side control the pace by using a little bit of a mid-press or something along those lines to steal the ball from us, counter-attack, score a goal, then they control the pace of the game, and the issues emerge. And that's where we're dropping the points. And in order to stop that, we really need to focus on our concentration and limit the errors. As I mentioned earlier, looking at the games where we're dropping points, Blackburn, stupid penalty given away. Millwall, I genuinely can't remember that. I think it was someone lost Jake Cooper from a set piece off the top of my head. Burnley, as I mentioned, the Manor Solomon slip. When you come to the draws, Sunderland, Meslier letting the ball just through his arms. Portsmouth, a billion errors from Bogle and Meslier, leading to us scoring 3, but us also conceding 3. That's a lot of games where if we just limit the stupid, daft mistakes that we're making, we'll be okay. And if we're able to limit those errors, all we need to do is use that strong foundation that we build for ourselves, use that severe amount of possession that we build up, and create those opportunities and actually take the shots and finish them, then we'd be in a fantastic place. Then let's see how many points we've got at the minute. Currently, we're on 38 points. We could be mid-40s if we stop making those stupid errors and if we use that solid foundation to score the first goal. And once we've scored the first goal, we're fine. But that's the error. We're not getting there first. So ultimately, the question is, what does this mean for the match against Middlesbrough? And it means that I hope we've learned our lessons from the League Cup. Again, we've not got the issue of Jorginho Rutter leaving. That's fine. That's fantastic. Brilliant. Cool. But we need to learn what went wrong in that match because we lost 3-0. And if we lose 3-0 now, we could lose a lot of momentum, especially when the sides around us are potentially in matches that they might lose. I'm going to very quickly double check who exactly they are facing because I forgot to check this in advance because I didn't think I'd go down this specific rabbit hole. But the other sides could potentially drop a good amount of points this month, and we've got a decent run. We've got Oxford coming, we've got Derby coming up again, and they are sides that we can beat. And the real concern for me is Sheffield United have Millwall. We know Millwall are very good at taking points from sides. Burnley, admittedly, have Derby, but they also have some very strong opposition coming up. Let's have a look. They've got Norwich, then Watford, then Sheffield United, then Borough. That's not a nice run of games. Sunderland, sure. Bristol City. Should be a win for them. But after that, I'm sure it's not going to be the easiest. Then they got Swansea, then it's Norwich, then it's Blackburn. And then New Year's Day, Sheffield United play against Sunderland. So there's a lot of points to be dropped around us. We need to take advantage by imposing ourselves on the game, grabbing control, and just fucking nailing it. Because we can. We've got the squad for it. And it's little psychological errors that are the problem right now. And let's hope that the home form is stronger than our top half issues. Because Borough are a very, very good side. They're good at home. They're good away from home. Just need to make sure that we stop that. But at the end of the day, we won't know what happens until tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, pop a like on it, subscribe, become a channel member, all that fun stuff. If you're a channel member, you get videos like this one a little bit early. I'm not going to release this one super early, but it's fine. And it's 99p a month, and it's fantastic, and it really helps the channel to chug along. And I kind of want to know what you think in the comments below. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. God, I hope we beat Borough. The annoying part is I'm going to miss like the first 15 minutes, half an hour. That could be a problem.